Stress, struggle, and suffering. They are the prison of your own mind. This content is to set you free by deconstructing the lies that keep you stuck. But the truth can be triggering. Watch at your own risk.
You know, people will never have the sex they dream of, at least not for long. We're told to find the one, but the game is designed for us to fail. From our biology to our fairy tales, the entire system is rigged. You see, I wanted to make my brand as big as Coca-Cola. I spent around 300 grand mapping every sexual type. Instead, I discovered the biggest lie about sex, and I proved it with research. So, let's go.
Unbound Mind.
A good few years ago, I was tasked with introducing two brands into new territories. One of them was Durex, and for those who don't know, a former condoms brand that repositioned itself into a sexual health and well-being territory. Not being short of ambition, I wanted to turn Durex into a global #1 sexual pleasure brand with the size and iconic status of Coca-Cola. And to understand the potential market, I commissioned a monster study of 3 qualitative and 1 quantitative stages to segment consumers based on their sexual needs and preferences. Well, the result wasn't short of groundbreaking. One thing to make clear when it comes to segmentations, the study was run in Eastern Europe, and like any regional segmentation, it's just a robust indication of the trends landscapes can. In different regions, the size of the segments will vary, as well as the perception of profiles. It may get altered. Also, segments may not be stable in size as people migrate depending on their age, life experience, current relationship status, and they're also highly affected by their partner's sexual type. But we are here to generalize and take a helicopter view. And as such, if you're ready to hear some controversial truth about sex, let's begin.
Unbound Mind.
So, we mapped all segments across 4 coordinates, me focused and us focused horizontally, as well as open to, say, exploration, aka Indiana Jones of sex, and conservative. I don't know whether it comes as a surprise, but out of 13 segments we identified, only 3 have a similar proportion of male and female respondents. Basically, those are the dream team segments. Apart from the fact that 2 out of 3 are so high on sexual conservatism that they are close to having no sex at all. By the way, there is no segment that is 100% either or. All of them have a mixed profile, just the proportion of male and females will vary. One group we call the scared sufferers consider sex to be a tool for partner dominance and manipulation. But overall, they hate sex because they're afraid of pain, STIs, and undesirable pregnancies. They value safety and loving partners to trade sex for benefits. So in a very twisted way, it's like I give you what you want because I want you to give me something else. The other one is less malicious. Angel love. These are an idealistic type, either religious or with high moral principles. Many of them are celibates or virgins till they find the sure one. Shy, afraid of pain, and uncomfortable with their bodies. For them, sex is considered dirty-ish. It can only be justified with a strong emotional connection. And actually, I met a guy who worked with me on the project, who identified himself as belonging to this segment. Basically, his reasoning was that sex isn't worth it until it's shared with the right person. And the third group, and we're still talking about the dream teams of 50-50 males and females, is what is cherished by good old fairy tales. What most of us actually aspire to. It's a segment of healthy couples devoted to each other. Sexually, they're active without excessive experimentation. But this is enough because lack of hotness is compensated by deep feelings for their partners. And here is a rub. This group makes up around 8% of the population and may also include those in love, which means that with time, they will migrate into different segments. So, for all those dreaming of having a stable, happy ever after with sex, is bad news. Your chance is 8% minus those in love. So let's say having a stable, long-lasting and sexually fulfilling relationship, it's a lottery ticket. Now, when I successfully crashed your dreams, let's go back to reality. And reality says that men and women belong to different segments. You can see on the map pink and blue areas, female and male-dominated segments. Yeah, I know, I'm really original with my choice of colors. So, the first thing that's evident, male-dominated segments are more fragmented and above the ground on the scale of conservatism and experimentation. Female-dominated segments are more homogeneous and more conservative, and what a surprise. So, when men desire their female partners to be hotter, demonstrate initiative, be ready to experiment, as well as get easily aroused and reach a proper orgasm, whatever it means, well, there is an unfortunate truth behind this. Male partners do not feel they have enough of what they want. Rightly so. You see, physiologically, men report higher average sex drive, more frequent sexual thoughts, and a greater desire for variety of partners. This is often linked to testosterone levels. Of course, this is self-reported data from those often obsessed with their masculinity, so we should always take it with a pinch of salt. That said, still, their sexual desire tends to be more consistent over time and across situations. While women's desire is often found to be more variable and context-dependent, influenced by relationship quality, emotional safety, stress, physical tiredness from doing it all, and hormonal changes. Both are biologically linked to the differences in hormones and brain activation. By the way, if men seek greater sex, what do women want? Well, according to the study, women want their male partners to be more successful in their careers, help females reach orgasm. It's kind of ironic if you think about it. So men want women to have proper orgasms, and women want men to help them get proper orgasms. Sounds pretty straightforward to me, but why those are still unmet needs? Anyway, and be more romantic and affectionate. And being naive, I would suggest to share the burden of daily chores. So, now you know. Right, so when it comes to female-dominated segments, let's cover the first, what's easy. Here we have two clusters only. The first one, passionate romantics. These younger women want romance, as well as passion and emancipation, and see themselves as very sexy and brave. Kind of open to new experiments, but rather in their fantasies. They're kind of sexy and kind of not. They look for strong sensations and can't tolerate solitude. And you will see that, in fact, it's a contradiction. At that time, I couldn't understand how it's even possible, but I believe now I know, and we'll talk about it in our next video. And then we have this enormous conservative thing. These are traditionalists, family-oriented folks who seek stability. None of them is really crazy about sex. Often they consider themselves too shy and claim they would like to be more experimenting. They have little time for sex, as the time is consumed by the routine. They value romance, tenderness, care, and understanding. These are either our traditional families, busy with their children and jobs, and losing sexual attraction after feeling of being in love is gone, and it's inevitable, or women with cheating husbands, these ones there. Speaking of cheating husbands and serial daters, you know those who would promise you the moon just to get you, and then, after the prey is trapped, they immediately lose interest. Oh, those are every woman's dream. You see, they're romantic, caring, generous, emotional, understanding. They are sexually driven, non-dominating, and taken care of. What's not to love? Those Princess Charming women are so conditioned to want. And they get just that with only one drawback. Beautiful romance comes with pornography, marital infidelity, or a constant change of partners. Speaking of a change of partners, I also knew a woman, a high-profile executive. She was doing just that. She was charming men until they were falling in love, and she was losing her interest in them immediately after. This is when grocery shopping is more arousing than eating dinner. By the way, is cheating or serial dating actually biologically predisposed? There is a tendency to think that male physiology, aka sex drive, and mass-produced material, let's call it that way, is the justification for infidelity. Well, provided that male physiology is pretty much unique for all men, they're supposed to be all similar, right? And yet, they inhibit different behaviors. I believe it's fair to say that it isn't a justification but an excuse. So there must be other factors in play that impact our behavior, and for this, there is a part 2 if you want to know why this map exists. All right, time to round up, and we still have 2 male-dominated clusters to go through. The first one is the most open to experiments and is rather unusual. They value regular and high-quality sex and a good relationship with their partners. Well, who doesn't? However, what's really odd about them is that often they prefer seeing their partners regularly instead of living together. This is the result of me versus us orientation. For them, physical connection and aesthetics prevail over emotional connection. Also, since finding a suitable quality sex partner is another lottery ticket, if satisfied, they tend to stick to those they are with. And the final segment is the dominant one. Here we go. These guys want something really exciting, aggressive, but alas, don't always succeed in getting it. Not romantic as much as at all, cynical, and disregard any type of friendly or emotional connection. Some of them are sex scorers or one-night standers. We call them thrill seekers. They're about physical satisfaction, hard sex, and winning at all costs. And then you have the older, often married men who also want it all. And frankly, the word that comes to mind is abuse. You know, the great irony of this whole project is that we spent a fortune assessing purchasing power, but screening for the potential for harm, that actually would have been a more meaningful piece of work, especially provided that the brand was acquired shortly after the study, making all that finance data worthless anyway. But that's the world we live in, isn't it? The potential for profit will always be more valuable than the potential for harm. And because this group wasn't our target, well, for obvious reasons, that's unfortunately as deep as we ever got to dig. And now you have it. Society is mapped. And what does it give you? To start with, my cherished clarity. Once you've seen the map, you can't unsee it. Also, it kind of sucks because it forces you to give up on your fairy tales. I know, that sounds incredibly bleak, especially for women, where the data suggests your chances are 1 of 3 to be cheated on, fall for a dominating type, or stay in a relationship held together by habit or financial constraints, not passion. But this map isn't a life sentence, it's a diagnosis. And you can't solve a problem until you have the courage to see it clearly. So yes, lower your expectations and you will lower your emotional damage. And on this rather positive note, I'll leave you. See you in part 2, where we stop looking at the map and start uncovering the why behind it. Because knowing the why is how you light your way out.